All right, now I should have sound. All right, once again, put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. I'll let y'all catch up. I had to fix that, fix my audio right quick. I caught it early this time, so I had to look at the comments. There we go. Y'all hear me clearly? That's what I'm talking about. All right, folks. What's going on? Welcome to the Monday night live stream. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about erectile dysfunction. I'm going to be talking a little bit more in detail about the causes of it, right? As well as the solutions. All right. So, yeah, definitely we got some ones in the chat here. Definitely where y'all tuning in from. City, state, country, province. What's going on, y'all? Sign off. That's right. Now we got a lot of folks joining in on the gram. I'm not going to be able to be watching both comment streams, but I'll do that afterwards, right? I'll take a break to address some comments. All right. So we got my lady here in the chat. What's going on, Boo Boo? Appreciate you tuning in. Welcome back, Jay. What's going on? Good to see you in here. My man Jay Shore, salute to you. Welcome to the stream tonight. The intro is so peaceful. Yeah, we got to make it a vibe in here. We got to make it a whole entire vibe. Cali girl, what's going on? Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you in here. That's right. The intro is arousing. All right. Noted. All right. Tyler T, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you in here. Yes, we got a lot of return visitors, a lot of folks returning back to the stream consistently. Annie Thompson, what's going on? Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the shout out there. Folks is looking out, making sure my sound is coming in right. All right, let's see. That's right, you caught it live. That's right, I do it every Monday night, so folks get the opportunity to tune in. So yeah, tonight I'm going to be talking about erectile dysfunction. I'm going to start off talking about the causes and going in depth about the causes that people don't really talk about much. When it comes to erectile dysfunction, you know, the causes that people talk about the most is low testosterone, obesity, and diabetes. Those are the primary ones. But there are other causes that people really don't talk about, right? For example, blood oxygenation. I never really hear people talk about blood oxygenation or alkalizing of the body when it comes to erectile dysfunction, right? Because you could have erectile dysfunction as a result of excess acid formation. It could be kidney problems, right? It could be issues in your liver that's causing the problems, right? And usually what happens is if you have liver kidneys, your chances are you also have kidney issues. And if you have kidney issues, chances are you have liver issues, right? So I'm going to be talking about that and then also talking about how to know if your erectile dysfunction is physical, is physiological, or psychological. Because if it's psychological, then that's an entirely different conversation and there's a way to tell. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So definitely it's going to be a banger of a stream tonight. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. I don't want to hold y'all up all night. All right. Tuning in from Homestead. What's going on? Big shout out to you tuning in. All right. Yeah, folks. I see folks are sounding off in here. Which fruit is on the menu today? You know what? I'm glad you asked. Here we go. Next. So this is going to be the first watermelon I got out here. So we're going to see how this turns out. All right. Give me a knife. Hold on a second here. Let me wash this off right quick. Yeah. All right. And I'm also going to be answering some questions and whatnot also. I'm gonna be multitasking here. I'm gonna be cutting into this watermelon as well as answering questions. So, down a little bit. Just a little bit. Position my mouse. Well, you don't have great service. You got to get home internet. Yeah, I hear you. I got a good connection out here. All right, getting deep in there. All right, so basically, let's talk about the most common cause of erectile dysfunction. Really, at the end of the day, erectile dysfunction is caused by the same thing, which is excess acid formation and poor oxygenation of your body. And poor oxygenation of your body is a result of excess acid accumulation, right? So when you got folks in the alkaline vegan community, you got your Dr. Sebi folks and whatnot, who are big proponents of Dr. Sebi. They talk about alkalizing your body. So essentially, what the deal is your body is always trying to self-alkalize, but your problems start when you make it difficult on your body to make that happen. Right? Folks. The split has happened here. Let's see. I'm gonna taste some of this tonight too. So hold on a second. All right. So yeah, at the root of all of it is erectile dysfunction. Yeah, this is not the seeded one. Well, this is not with the black seeds, but you know what? That's fine. So essentially, in order for you to get an erection, you got to get blood flow to your member, right? The problem is there's a pecking order. Your body prioritizes, first of all, oxygenation and blood flow to the midline first, and then all of the other organs. Damn, what's going on? And then all of the other organs afterwards, right? So the same thing that would cause erectile dysfunction is the same thing that would cause neuropathy or coldness in the hands and feet or numbness in the hands and feet, right? So gout, neuropathy, things like that, all operate at the same thing, excess acid formation, right? In the case of gout, that is excess uric acid, right? So you got a high fat, high protein diet, in particular, high saturated fat, high protein in the diet, a lot of heme iron in the diet from eating red meat and things like that. This makes it more difficult on the body to alkalize. Right, so this is probably a clumsy way to do this, the way I'm cutting it right now, but that's fine. It's all good. I'm actually going to cut this way. So the reason why obesity would cause erectile dysfunction is because obesity inhibits blood oxygenation, right? The reason why diabetes would cause erectile dysfunction is because it inhibits blood oxygenation. When people talk about blood flow, it's not just the movement of blood through your veins, it's blood delivering nutrients to your cells, right? Oxygen is that very important nutrient because oxygen is mandatory for facilitating thermogenesis. And in order for you to get an erection, you need thermogenesis. You need heat. And the inability to produce heat in your nether regions would contribute or straight up cause that erectile dysfunction. All right, I'm over here blocking the view. Let me put that to the side there. So this watermelon right here, and this is a fitting fruit because watermelon is actually very good for increasing thermogenesis and oxygenation to your cells. Watermelon provides a very easy fuel source for the human body, right? Let me get some of that extra rind off of there. So this right here, the watermelon, is also very rich in vitamin C and copper. All right. So vitamin C and copper are very important for oxygenating your body. So yeah, we got diabetes and obesity, right? And basically that's all related to excess acid formation. Now, acid formation is a result of energy expenditure. The more energy your body expends, the more acid is produced. Acid is a byproduct of energy expenditure, right? So basically, your body has this thing called a pH scale or pH balance. So a pH scale is typically numbered from 0 to 14, and then 7 being neutral, right? We need to be slightly alkaline. So that's what's going to bring you in between anywhere like a 7.4, 7.6, 7.8, depending on the circumstances. But, the sweet spot is more along the lines of a 7.4, right? Now, the closer you get to neutral, this is where you start having problems. Getting to neutral as far as your pH balance in your body is energy stagnation. Right? This is where your metabolic problems start. If you dip below 7 and you start getting into your 6s, now you have chronic illnesses. Because now your body isn't really filtering out or converting that acid into alkaline formation, right? So either your body has to excrete excess acid from your body, or it has to convert that acid into more alkaline substances, right? And so you have like this whole Krebs cycle, which is energy cycle in your cells. You got the, ADP ADP gets converted back into ATP, which is the primary energy source of, let's say, skeletal muscle tissue, right? Or ATP production in your cells in general. ATP standing for adenosine triphosphate. I'm not going to get too caught up in that, but that's pretty much how that works, right? So essentially, your problems with erectile dysfunction, and erectile dysfunction is a symptom. It's more of a canary in the coal mine, right? It's a warning shot. Because, fellas, we care more about our penis sometimes than we do our actual brain, right? So your body will send you a warning shot like, all right, well, since you don't want to listen to all the other signs, I'm going to hit you in the groin. Shut this thing down, right? So this is essentially what happens with that. Now, it's very important to understand the whole thing that I just explained about acid formation and alkaline formation. And when I'm talking about energy expenditure is acid forming. Now, that's very important too, is because exercise. Let's say you have obesity and diabetes and you need to lose weight. What do people do when they try to lose weight? They do all kind of cardio and exercise and everything like that. The exercise is very acid forming, especially if you're doing resistance training to build muscle. So the more intense the exercise is, the more acid formation is going to occur. So when you increase acid formation through working the crap out of your body, essentially what happens is you produce more acid. This is a stressor on the human body. So you can actually use exercise to make your ED issues worse. Right? You're training too much. You want to lose weight, the best weight loss exercise typically is going to be walking. It's even better than running. So we need to get back into stress because you're stressed because of the energy expenditure. So, and we're talking about physical energy, spiritual energy, emotional energy, all of it, right? All of the energy. Your body doesn't really make a difference, doesn't really understand a difference between physical energy expenditure and emotional or mental energy expenditure. Doesn't really understand the difference, right? Stress is stress. Energy expenditure is energy expenditure. So people with erectile dysfunction often have low motivation. right? So I don't feel motivated. I'm not sleeping well. You know, I'm having problems in the bedroom. You know, my lady's looking at me crazy. You know, I'm not in a good spot. I need to lose this weight. I got all these problems. Stress management now becomes at the forefront of ED reversal. The name of the game is stress management, right? So, high blood pressure, hypertension, can that cause erectile dysfunction? Yes. But high blood pressure, hypertension, is caused by poor stress management, right? The overaccumulation of acid formation, right? And a lot of times people have high blood pressure because they have kidney problems. Their kidneys are stressed out. Let me get a little bit of this off of here. Look at that. Yeah, that watermelon looks so red on camera. That's amazing. So stress management, it becomes at the top of the game. So you say, well, how does exercise fit into the picture? The more intense the exercise is, the less frequent it has to be. The funny thing is that the certain types of exercise, you have to break up your exercise into different groups. So if you're going to do intense exercise, you should be doing that because you want to either build muscle or you want to improve your body's ability to operate in an anaerobic fashion. So aerobic means an abundance of oxygen, and anaerobic means without oxygen, right? If you're doing resistance training or any resistance training that's worth doing is anaerobic. When you train a muscle grows, but it only grows under certain circumstances. If you are dealing with erectile dysfunction, poor motivation, high blood pressure, things are just out of whack. If you add in intense resistance training on top of that, you make your issue worse. You can do the resistance training, but it would be a good idea to train either every other day or every 2 days. Okay. If you're trying to lose weight, the best thing that you can do is not running, it's not doing anything intense. It's taking a casual walk, typically outside in the sun. Because I'm also going to talk about how testosterone feeds into erectile dysfunction also. Because erectile dysfunction can be caused by low testosterone. But if you're dealing with low testosterone, you've had a whole bunch of other things happen first. Like low testosterone doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. Low testosterone and erectile dysfunction and high blood pressure and diabetes and obesity are all results of poor stress management and acid overaccumulation. So all comes back to the same thing. So stress management. Now I had to talk about the exercise part because the food part is going to be a little bit more complex. The exercise part is a lot more simple. So as far as exercise is concerned, the low intensity aerobic stuff like walking, preferably out in the sun, is going to be the best because not only do you get in, walking stimulates the flushing of your lymphatic system. So when you go walking, it makes it easier for your kidneys and your lymphatic system to purge toxins and interstitial fluid from your body. So if you're dealing with swelling, and typically if you have low testosterone or something like that, chances are your adrenal glands are blown out, your face is puffy, you're swelling, you're retaining a lot of water. So basically you need, if you can use exercise like walking to pretty much kickstart the flow through your lymphatic system and help your kidneys flush that excess interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid is the fluid that's built up between your cells, right? And so if you have interstitial fluid that's high enough, you can have swelling in your hands, feet, lower legs, wrists, etc., right? You can have swelling in your face, all types of stuff. And then you can even have swollen lymph nodes like under your armpit, around your groin area, that kind of thing. So the walking, and a big part of the walking is the torso rotation, right? Because your lymphatic system doesn't have like a heart to pump it. So you have to pretty much move it yourself. And so physical exercise is one of the best ways to do that. And then you can do other things like yoga. Yoga is actually very, very, very beneficial for your lymphatic system. It's a great way to, well, let me say it this way. In order to optimize the flow of your lymphatic system, leveraging yoga to do that is a really good idea. All right. Improving flexibility, stretching, mobility, that kind of thing. What's interesting is, guys have a habit of not stretching. Matter of fact, a lot of guys who have erectile dysfunction are tight. Right? So you can have a lot of lower back tightness, tightness in your hip flexors, tightness in your ankles, calves, and hamstrings. Right? Pretty much all kind of tightness on your back, and then tightness in the neck that raises the shoulders up. So stretching those muscles, right? Like stretching your hamstrings, stretching your piriformis, stretching your hip flexors, stretching your calves, opening up, external rotation at the shoulders and all of this type of stuff, dropping the shoulders. You can strengthen muscles by stretching them, right? Because when you stretch a muscle, it causes muscular activation. And if you stretch against a muscle, the more you stretch the muscle, the more that muscle will contract. And contracting a muscle while simultaneously lengthening a muscle is actually extremely beneficial for the building of that muscle and actually optimizing blood flow through that muscle tissue. The optimizing blood flow thing is key. So in the walking and the yoga or just daily mobility exercises, combining these two things is a great thing to leverage in order to reduce stress, right? Stress management. Resistance training, the only type of resistance training that is worth doing is the resistance training that is hard and it's a short duration. So if you're doing weightlifting and you're weightlifting in the gym for an hour, hour and a half, or whatever the case is, even 45 minutes can be too long, right? You're better off training for around 20 to 30 minutes. So keep it short and sweet. You really only need about 1 set per exercise to push it really hard for that 1 set, really brief workout. The reason why this is beneficial is because your body hyper responds to exercise. So the exercise is acid forming. This is the reason why you want to keep it short and you don't want to do set after set after set, because with every set you accumulate more acid, right? So if it's less sets in a shorter duration, it's less acid accumulation. So what happens is if you push a set really hard, that will accumulate a lot of acid, but your body over responds with hyper alkalizing your body. So when you stop training, your heart rate stays elevated. And then what happens is your oxygen efficiency increases. So even after you stop training, your heart rate's elevated and you're sucking in oxygen and heavily oxygenating your body. Combined with adequate hydration. So like, let's say you eat like watermelon after training, right? Or even before training, so you're already hydrated. But whatever you got to do to stay hydrated, beet juice or whatever the case is, your body will hyper alkalize in order to protect from the acid formation of the workout, right? Your body hyper responds. This is the way that your body adapts. So acute, very short-term stimuluses are actually very, very beneficial. It's kind of like cold plunges. Cold plunges are very beneficial because of how your body responds when you get out, right? When you get out of the ice water, right? Your body hyper responds, right? Even your body will hyper respond to cold by increasing oxygen intake, and increased oxygen intake increases thermogenesis, heat. So cold air or cold water forces you to increase oxygenation of your body. It's a hyper response. So your body will shiver more and increase the frequency and the cellular movement. And then, of course, what you have to consciously do is slow down your breath and actually breathe deeper. So less shallow breaths and more deep breaths. Take control of your breathing, right? So that's pretty much what I want to say for resistance training. Now going into nutrition. What do we need in order to alkalize our body and reverse some like erectile dysfunction, right? As far as nutrition, we've got things like iron, copper, magnesium, manganese, zinc, right? These different minerals. So I want to talk about copper. So let's say you have like erectile dysfunction. You see this bright red watermelon here. Let me see. This is absolutely amazing. So this this watermelon loaded with water, I mean it's like 80% water or something like that. Very big source of copper, vitamin C, prebiotic fiber, which is very important because building your gut microbiome, I'm going to talk about why that's important for this particular issue, especially when it relates to testosterone. Copper is very important for the channeling of energy throughout your body, right? Even the usage of things like zinc and magnesium. Copper is at the forefront of all this stuff, right? Copper is necessary in order to alkalize your body. Copper is necessary in order to produce hemoglobin, right? Red blood cells. Hemoglobin is a protein that is created in the formation of red blood cells, right? Which is needed for actually supplying your cells with oxygen, right? So oxygen travels to all of the cells in your body through red blood cells. So watermelon is very important to that whole entire process, right? Good source of iron, etc. And the beautiful thing about it too, even though watermelon is high in the glycemic index, it has a low glycemic load because it's mostly water. So you can eat a large amount of it and it's not going to send your blood sugar through the roof, or at least for most people, it doesn't. If watermelon sends your blood sugar through the roof, chances are your gut microbiome is compromised. So things like beet juice, that's another thing, right? So beet juice, let's say you do like, in the store, you can either get like large beets by themselves, and the beet is like the size of like a baseball or larger. And then they have the smaller beets, and it's usually like a group of beets with the beet green. So there'll be these little beets, they're like this big, and they have the greens attached to them. So you can juice like 2 or 3 of those, or even 4, depending on how much juice you want to make. And then you add cucumber. Cucumber is also very, very important for kidney health, your lymphatic system, and draining toxins and excess acid from your body. Cucumber is a big deal. Cucumber is also very important for protecting your DNA. Cucumber essentially is a stress relief food, right? That's really what it is. It is one of the best forms of structured water. And as a matter of fact, cucumber and watermelon are very closely related as far as food groups. So you add, let's say you add like an 8-inch cucumber with the beets and the beet greens, and then you add like a Granny Smith apple or a Honeycrisp apple, whatever kind of apples you want to add. I'm partial to more of the green apples in that drink, but the apple doesn't need to be green. Right? It's just that the beets are really red, so the cucumber's green, so I like green and red. Green and red is really important for the oxygenation of your body, right? So that's a color cue. It's green, red, and violet. These are the high frequency alkalizing foods. So your watermelons, your beets, your greens, your cucumber, your kiwis, and then you got blueberries, raspberries, goji berries, strawberries, blackberries, in that color family, right? So it's that red, purple, and green. Really important for blood flow. This is also very important for women too, right? Because the same foods that would benefit men in this way also benefit women, because women's hormonal issues, especially when it comes to like reproductive health, is also caused by the same things, which is poor stress management. So These foods are really good to start your days off with, like the eating the watermelon and juicing the fruits and vegetables and stuff. Because a lot of times we wake up dehydrated, right? And when you wake up dehydrated, your blood pressure could actually be really high in the morning, and your blood sugar could be really high in the morning because your cortisol is really high in the morning. So it's very important to immediately hydrate your body when you get up. Okay. Dehydration is your greatest adversary. Dehydration is a beast. It will wreck every aspect of your health. So when I create diet plans and training routines and things like that, the first meal, one of the biggest priorities in the first meal is hydrating your body. That's usually the case. It's a battle against cortisol because you wake up and your cortisol is like is really elevated in the morning. Now, normally, this is not a bad thing, right? Your cortisol should be elevated in the morning, but it should come back down pretty quickly. But what happens is the sustained stress, day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month after month, and all the weight gain and the vascular constriction and the calcium buildup, all this type of stuff. And I'm gonna get into calcium buildup in a second. All of that causes your body to constantly be in fight or flight mode, which raises your cortisol. And your cortisol, that elevated cortisol, obliterates testosterone. Cortisol and testosterone have like an adversarial relationship. It's like a seesaw. Cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down. Cortisol goes up, blood pressure goes up, right? Because essentially when your blood pressure increases, it's because of the anxiety and whatnot that your body feels, and your body goes, it tightens up, right? So there's this vascular constriction. And your blood sugar goes up because cortisol breaks down fat and protein. So this cortisol ends up being catabolic and actually breaks down muscle mass, and it makes it harder for you to build muscle. So sometimes like skipping breakfast can be one of the worst things that you can do for some people. Like if you wake up with really elevated cortisol in the morning and you're skipping breakfast, you're probably making it worse. There are exceptions though. So for example, let's say you wake up first thing in the morning and you drink a tea that is loaded with antioxidants, right? Let's say you drink like a matcha tea first thing in the morning, or you drink ashwagandha first thing in the morning, right? Then that can actually help to bring that cortisol down. Or let's say you wake up first thing in the morning and you drink water with a pinch of sea salt and like squeezed key lime or something like that, and you drink that first thing in the morning. Then that salt and that lime juice can help to bring down cortisol. A few things that bring down cortisol: hydration, salt, sugar. These are like top 3 that bring down your cortisol the quickest in the morning. So you get hydrated first thing in the morning, and then you get into some physical activity. You can either walk your first 2 or 3 miles of the day in the morning, or you can start off doing your resistance training first thing in the morning. Your best time to train is when you're the most mentally focused. So for me, I'm more partial to training first thing in the morning. Well, I don't know about first thing in the morning, because there's things that I do before that, because I got to get mentally ready, especially if the workout's going to be really intense. But earlier workouts could like be the best time to do it. Some people, they work really well training in the evening. So like, let's say you train at 5 or 6 p.m., you go to bed at like 9 or 10. That works very well for a lot of people also. So it's more of like a personal thing. You can pick and choose. Now, of course, if you train in the evening, the rules are kind of different, right? So you're going to train after your last meal, right? Let's say, or you train before your very last meal. But if you train before your last meal, chances are you're going to be training around 5 or 6, and then you eat around 7. 8 is kind of late, just pushing it a little bit. Now, depending on your lifestyle, also having protein in the morning, having a more protein-rich meal first thing in the morning also brings down cortisol and helps to preserve lean muscle mass. Well, all muscle mass is lean, so just muscle mass, right? So for me personally, what I would like to do in that case, let's say your goal is to really maintain as much muscle mass as possible. You could do, what I personally like to do is either hemp pudding first thing in the morning, where I'll do like a quarter cup of flax seeds, a quarter cup of hemp seeds. I may add some pea protein isolate in there, add some almond butter or powdered peanuts, a little bit of sea salt, Ceylon cinnamon, cacao powder, and whatnot, and then blend and then puree that in the blender, put it in a container, and leave it in the fridge overnight to solidify and turn into a pudding, and then eat that first thing in the morning, and then go train. That's a good option. Now, that could be a good option for you, except if you have a compromised gut. Let's say you produce low stomach acid, so you consume protein that sits on your stomach like a brick. If that's the case, you have low stomach acid. You have low stomach acid, chances are you have liver issues. So you have to decongest your liver. So that's where you wouldn't want to go with something like the beet juice or the watermelons or something like that. A lot of people, a lot of guys, y'all have erectile dysfunction because you got liver issues, right? And so, you could have gotten this from just terrible eating, your baby back ribs and burgers and whatever, drinking, smoking. All of these things wreck your liver, right? And your liver and your kidneys work together to detox your body. So if you're dumping all kinds of toxins and waste products on your body, you're cooking with all kinds of oil and whatnot, you're crushing your liver. So if you're dealing with low stomach acid and your gut is very sensitive to like fat and protein, there's a low stomach acid issue. You need to focus on hydration, decongesting your liver, and dropping visceral fat. Visceral fat is the type of fat that's built up around your midsection on top of your vital organs. It's underneath your muscle. It's underneath your abdominal wall. It's not sitting on top of muscle, it's underneath. It's the dangerous stuff. Men in particular are really high risk for all types of issues, heart attacks and all types of stuff, because men on average have 10% higher visceral fat than women. Women are built better for stress. Men are not built that well for stress. So men are very strong. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. So men are very strong and can do a lot of work, but there's a consequence that happens. You die earlier. So us as men, we're all about work and, building and creating and providing, etc. And so we neglect a lot of our personal care, right? Self-care is like this thing that us men don't really do such a good job of really working on. So we burn ourselves out and we end up with all these health issues by like 32, 35, 40. And then by the time you hit 40, then you're rolling into andropause, where you're hemorrhaging testosterone. So I've had guys come to me and their testosterone levels were like 200, right? Like real low. So I covered the hydration and the protein aspect. Protein is not really that important for increasing testosterone. It's important, but the thing is that diet is a zero-sum game, which means the more you focus on protein, the more you sacrifice other things. Probably the most important thing that I've learned is how important carbohydrates are for longevity. So carbohydrates are the primary vehicle that your body uses to hydrate itself. Now, when I talk about carbohydrates, I'm talking about whole foods, not processed foods. Right? I'm talking about intact foods. I'm not talking about some manufactured, industrialized food-like product, right? Carbohydrates, I'll give you an example. Let's say you take any legume or any grain or whatever the case is, and if it's dry, it'll be real small. But if you soak it in water, it'll suck up the water and expand and soften up. Carbohydrates suck up water. And then you eat those carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates will then break down into glucose. And as it breaks down, it hydrates your body. And then the glucose gets shuttled into your cells along with that water at like a 3-to-1 ratio. So every molecule of glucose is 3 molecules of water into your cells. So carbohydrates, because of that, is a really efficient way to hydrate your body. And something like fruit is, in my opinion, the best way to do it. Not all carbohydrates are created equal. With fruits, you don't have to add water. But with legumes and grains and things like that, you do. Right? And starches, they can sit on your gut, and depending on the level of stomach acid in your gut, that could determine whether or not you feel like the food is dehydrating you and making you lethargic and jacking up your blood sugar, or it's a revitalizing, energizing food. The more compromised your gut is, the more raw your diet should be. One of the key reasons why a raw vegan diet is so beneficial for these issues is because it's naturally a hydrating diet. Unless you're like a raw vegan where you're just using the crap out of a dehydrator and you're grinding up like raw legumes and whole grains and then, packing it into like a raw vegan bread and then putting it in the dehydrator and all that. I don't do all that. I'm more on the fruitarian side where, fruit makes up the majority of your food intake by weight. Right? So like I don't eat like 3 or 4 pounds of much of anything, but fruit, I could eat like 10, 16, even 20 pounds of fruit a day. That outweighs anything else I eat. So when I talk about high raw fruitarian, that's what I mean. By weight, your fruit makes up the overwhelming majority of your food. Blood pressure. Watermelon drops blood pressure. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, the beet juice, that drops your blood pressure. And that improves insulin sensitivity, so your blood sugar also comes down. This is how you reverse diabetes, by the way. Fruit is also anti-obesogenic, which means that there is a specific correlation where the more fruit you eat, the more weight you lose. Nutrition is zero sum, which means more of one thing is necessarily less of another. So the more fruit you eat, the more weight you lose because the less of other foods that are contributing to maintaining the weight you're eating. I don't know if I said that right. I feel like that was clumsily worded. Now, I'll warn you, eating a lot of fruit very consistently, you will be hungry more frequently because fruit is not particularly satiating. It's filling, it's not satiating. So there's a difference, right? When we talk about satiating, that implies how long a food keeps you satisfied. Fullness indicates just how full you feel. So fruit is not really that satiating as far as like, cooked foods and things like that are a bit more satiating. So you'll eat more frequently, right? So the whole 2 meals a day thing may not really cut it. And if your diet is overwhelmingly fruit, even 3 meals a day may not cut it. You may have to do upwards of 4 to 6, right? And that depends on the portion size you're eating at a time. I mentioned calcium. Calcium is a really bad sign if it's building up to an excessive degree in your bloodstream, right? So you may have a high calcium score or something like that. And that calcium is used to develop plaque, atherosclerotic plaque. Calcium is also used to calcify arteries or organ tissues. And it can cause this stiffening of vascular tissues, and that contributes to erectile dysfunction, high blood pressure, etc. And the stiffening makes it easier to damage the endothelial layer of your vascular system. That's the inner layer. So that calcium can be kind of dangerous, right? What's crazy is that, like, in our food system, the general recommendation for calcium is like a gram or like 1,200 milligrams or something like that of calcium per day, which is a bit obscene, right? What's more important is actually increasing the amount of magnesium you get in your diet. Your calcium, you can get that from nuts and seeds. You get it from leafy greens. You primarily get it from leafy greens, to be honest. But you do need the magnesium, and the magnesium and the vitamin C, keyword vitamin C, and the magnesium is very important for reversing atherosclerotic plaque buildup, calcification of arteries, and reversing osteoclast and creating osteoblast. Osteoclast is the term used to describe calcium being leached from your muscle tissue and bones and having it dumped into your bloodstream, because calcium is an alkalizing mineral. So excess acid formation leads to calcium being leached from your muscle tissue and bones in order to neutralize the acid. Okay? Your body does that as a defense mechanism. Your body will sacrifice calcium in order to deal with the acid formation. Let's say a good example of this is, let's say you have GERD, acid reflux. Basically, you just have acid just coming up, bubbling up. It's going into your lower esophagus, and next thing you know, you're tasting it in your mouth. So you can go to the store, you get an antacid, and typically an antacid would be something like calcium bicarbonate, right? It's basically just calcium that is used to neutralize the acid in your upper gut. That's what it is. Now, your body does this on its own throughout your body, where, you know, you can have neuropathy and things like that, or you can have osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, things like this as a result of the constant leaching of nutrients like calcium from your bone tissue. And you can get a diminishment of all types of amino acids, minerals, and you can develop a magnesium deficiency. You can have weaker bones, brittle bones, and all of that type of stuff because you're so acidic for such a long period of time. All of these resources are being leached from your muscle and bone tissue. A big driver of sarcopenia is actually a loss of calcium stored inside the muscle and bone tissue. And bone density and muscle density, they grow and shrink together. Right? It's not like you can maintain your muscle mass, but your bones just keep getting weaker. It's not really how it works. You lose both at the same time. So when you increase the magnesium intake, you don't have to consume as much calcium because you're not losing the calcium. It's not being oxidized. It's not being deployed in order to neutralize acid. Right? So you get a lot of your magnesium from, pretty much all of your foods, right? You're getting magnesium in whether it's your watermelon, your beets, your leafy greens. You're getting it in things like chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seed kernels. You're getting it from kiwis, berries, You're getting it from oats, kasha, right, which is toasted buckwheat, legumes, whether it be lentils or otherwise. So if you're eating enough, you should be able to at least get around anywhere from 500 milligrams and up of magnesium per day in your diet. For a lot of you, you can reverse all of your issues, especially erectile dysfunction, by getting more magnesium. Erectile dysfunction can also be caused by vitamin D deficiency. So for vitamin D, we're looking at getting more time outside, like taking that walk, walking those miles outside, getting that sun exposure. Also taking like a vitamin D3, preferably the plant-based kind. And you can also get vitamin D from mushrooms, right? Eating, vitamin D fortified mushrooms. Chances are, if you have a magnesium deficiency, you also have a vitamin D deficiency. If you're black living in America, you work a full-time job indoors, chances are you're vitamin D deficient if you're experiencing these issues. Vitamin D deficiency is extraordinarily prevalent. Pretty much anybody who has any kind of chronic, long-standing illness or dysfunction in the body typically has a vitamin D deficiency, especially if you're black. By the way, if you're black, copper specifically becomes very important in your diet, right? Because copper has a streamlined relationship with melanocytes, or your melanin. I've had tribe members regain pigmentation in their hair. So they had gray hair, and they followed the plan I gave them. And with the abundance of copper in the diet, they started to regain pigmentation. Their eyes look better, their hair look better, and their skin look better. Let's say if you have hyperpigmentation of your skin, right? You got dark spots, things like that. Copper is really important for correcting that. You hear a lot of folks in the raw vegan community, specifically among us melanated folks, we make a big deal out of grapes, specifically red grapes. Red grapes are extremely abundant in copper. Grapes, honestly, is a staple food for me. Grapes is a really big deal. Not only are grapes really rich in copper, but very rich in vitamin K. Vitamin K directly raises testosterone. So you basically consume foods rich in vitamin K, specifically vitamin K1, and your body or your gut microbiome converts that vitamin K1 into vitamin K2. Right? That vitamin K2 is then used to synthesize more testosterone. Right? There's all these different biomechanical pathways that it happens, and it's in conjunction with vitamin D, vitamin E, zinc, etc. Right? But vitamin K2 is a very big deal with that. Now, if you have a compromised gut, having an abundance of raw foods in your diet with all types of different fibers, prebiotic fibers, to feed the probiotic, the probiotics in your gut, your beneficial gut bacteria. As you grow your good microbiome, your good gut bacteria, that bacteria produces something called postbiotics. Postbiotics are different chemical compounds that bacteria excretes and puts back up into your body. Right? So that can be things like vitamin B12. That could be things like folate. That could be things like vitamin K2, short chain fatty acids, etc. So your gut health, right? Improving your gut health also can increase or will increase testosterone and reverse high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, erectile dysfunction, etc. Improving your gut microbiome can also reduce cortisol. If your gut microbiome is dying, that can throw you into a state of anxiety and depression. When you have an overaccumulation of bad bacteria in your body or a decrease in good gut bacteria, that contributes to or sends you straight into depression and anxiety, right? Your mental health is directly related to your gut health. The diminishment of your gut microbiome is perceived as a threat. It sends signals to your brain to do something about it. Those general signals are called agitation. And that's where you get your anxiety from. And in your anxiety and your fight or flight, you're up here, you're super activated, but it's difficult to sustain. So eventually you crash. You go into a depression. Depression isn't really like a sadness, it's more of like a numbness. So you're depleted in serotonin, you're depleted in dopamine, endorphins, etc. And you develop a resistance to things like dopamine. You develop dopamine resistance. So like your favorite foods don't really taste as good anymore. You're not really enjoying your favorite TV show like you used to. You lose your libido. That's the crash. Because you've been super activated for so long and then you're burnt out and then you hit the crash. Right? So you can do things like take a probiotic, eat more prebiotic foods, and eat more fermented foods. Coconut yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles. You can drink kombucha, etc. Right? All of this stuff that I'm mentioning, you can implement. The ashwagandha, the foods, the grapes, the watermelon, the kiwis, the variety of berries, grapefruit. Grapefruit, if you have high blood pressure, you eat a grapefruit, it damn near immediately brings down your blood pressure. Vasodilation, increase in insulin sensitivity. So your blood pressure and your blood sugar come down to a healthy level both simultaneously. Avocado. If you're dealing with erectile dysfunction, it is a very good idea to make avocado a staple food in your diet. Avocado is a good source of zinc, vitamin E, polyunsaturated fats, omega-3 essential fatty acids. Avocado is a big deal. Lentils, black beans, red kidney beans, or just beans in general, really, to be quite honest. Lima beans. This stuff is a big deal because of the zinc and the tryptophan, magnesium, the manganese, and the iron, as well as the vitamin K and all that type of stuff. And zinc is a really big deal, especially lined up with that copper. Zinc is essential to the formation of testosterone. It's essential to the process of muscle protein synthesis. And zinc is typically found in protein-rich foods. For a man dealing with low testosterone or erectile dysfunction, it's a good idea to get at least 15 milligrams of zinc per day in your diet. Now you can supplement with zinc as well. So like, let's say you're taking more of the low protein fruitarian approach because you have low stomach acid and gut health issues. You can supplement with zinc. You do zinc picolinate and you can supplement with it. You can go pretty high. And it would be a good idea if you have low testosterone, it would be a good idea to supplement with like 30 milligrams per day or even 60 milligrams per day. Just make sure that you have an adequate amount of copper in your diet, which you should if you're eating more of a raw fruitarian style diet. This is the line. So your leafy greens. Your leafy greens are a big deal because it's detoxifying. Your leafy greens are more of like a medicinal food. Pound for pound, leafy greens are like the most antioxidant rich food you can have. Above leafy greens are spices and herbs. So with your leafy greens, I'm more of a proponent of tender leafy greens, especially if you have gut health issues. If you don't have low stomach acid, you could do the broccoli and the cauliflower and the cabbage and all of that. But if you've got a compromised gut, you may want to go with tender leafy greens, romaine lettuce, arugula, watercress, spring mix, baby kale, things like this, right? And then your kale, you can massage it, right? So you may want to crunch it up a little bit and massage it, right? And you can massage the avocado into the kale as well. By the way, folks, if you find this information valuable, hit the like button. Like the stream if you like the stream. And if you're not following me, you should be. I do this every Monday night. So your leafy greens are also very important because they're a great source of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is plant blood. Chlorophyll is what makes your greens green. I told y'all how important the color green is to blood flow. More green in your diet is very important for your kidney health, your liver health, and detoxifying your body. Actually, eating more leafy greens will reduce body odor. And while we're on the subject of body odor, you're most likely to have body odor if you have a high protein diet or you eat a lot of protein, you eat a lot of fat, right? But specifically the high protein, because the more protein you eat, the more sulfur accumulates in your body. And sulfur smells terrible. And that sulfur has to be converted. And if you got really bad body odor, you're eating too much protein. And it's contributing to an overgrowth of bad bacteria in your gut. So if this is the case, your protein intake should typically be in between 10 and 16% of your macros. More along the lines of 10% if you're dealing with the bad body odor issue. So bringing the protein to around 10%, maybe 12%. Eating about 4 to 6 cups of leafy greens a day, right? Of course, staying hydrated. You can also drink liquid chlorophyll. So that's another option there too. You can actually order online and get liquid chlorophyll, just chlorophyll but in liquid form. If your breath smells really bad, that's a sign of bad bacteria festering in your upper gut. So you may want to consider getting into the habit of drinking teas with spices and herbs that are antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. So, bad breath, thick white plaque on the tongue, or maybe even yellow plaque on the tongue, those are signs. Bacteria going crazy, as well as candida. Right? There's also a sign of candida overgrowth. Constant gas and bloating, that can be another sign. Really terrible smelling bowel movements. Okay. What else? I think I just about covered it all. Let me check in here. Did I miss anything? One more thing. There are supplements that you can take. One supplement, citrulline malate. Citrulline, basically, citrulline is actually found in this watermelon, or watermelon in general. It's also found in beets. Citrulline is a precursor to arginine. Arginine is used inside the body to create nitric oxide. Nitric oxide acts as a vasodilator, right? So your vascular system dilates, right, with that citrulline. What I like to do is I take 9 grams of citrulline malate. Citrulline malate is basically citrulline and malic acid combined. Malic acid is actually very good for your intestines. It's very good for your digestive tract. Very good for digestion, things like that. Also connective tissue, etc. Malic acid is a big deal for repairing and protecting connective tissues and just soft organ tissues, etc. Typically the citrulline malate is at a 2-to-1 ratio. So it's like 2 grams of malic acid for every 1 gram of citrulline. So 9 grams of citrulline malate, it will give you 3 grams of citrulline, if my math is correct. So that's a good supplement to take. In combination with that, you can also do 2 grams of taurine. Taurine, if you have vascular damage, you have a history of atherosclerotic plaque buildup, high cholesterol, or any type of damage to the endothelial layer or any kind of vascular damage, right? Or even nerve damage. Taurine is really beneficial for that, especially if your erectile dysfunction is a result of actual damage to the ligaments and connective tissues of your penis, right? So taurine. Now you could do taurine. Typically, I would say taurine, like 2 grams a day is like the minimum. And then you can even do upwards of 10 grams. But personally, I think 4 to 6 should be fine. And, so that would be like, I don't know, probably like 2 grams of taurine twice a day. So you can either do morning, afternoon, and night, or you can do morning and night. So it's a good supplement. So the citrulline malate, the taurine, the zinc picolinate, vitamin D3. And you can supplement also with magnesium glycinate at bed or before bed at night. And you can compare the magnesium glycinate with the zinc picolinate. And about 210 milligrams of the magnesium glycinate should be enough. And the magnesium and the zinc work very well together as a sleep aid, right? Improving your sleep quality directly lowers cortisol, improves blood pressure, blood sugar, ramps up fat metabolism, insulin sensitivity, muscle growth, as well as nocturnal erections. That's what I almost forgot. how to determine, because I covered exercise, I covered nutrition, I covered herbal and spice teas, supplementation. Now we're on to the next thing. How to tell the difference of whether your erectile dysfunction is a result of your physiology or your psychology. If you are having nocturnal erections, meaning you're getting chubs, you're getting hardness when you sleep, that means that it's not really a physiological thing, it's a psychological thing. In that case, you may want to think about your habits. How do you view intimacy? How do you view sex? And how often are you viewing it? If you're chronically masturbating and watching porn, stop. Because it's too in your head, it's killing your psychology, and then, you know, it's warping the mind and penile connection. Okay, so, you know, you're gonna have to exercise some discipline on that one. And then it depends, right? So, for example, you could just be nervous. Let's say you're about to get into the act or whatever the case is, and you're in your own head and you can't perform because you're nervous, you have anxiety or something like that. Then it's a matter of addressing the anxiety. You may have to work on things like self-esteem, things like that. So that may be like a whole other conversation, which I'm not really going to get into now because that'd be a whole nother long video, which I'm not prepared to do. That'd have to be like a separate stream. But if you want to know the difference between whether it's physiological or psychological, that's how you know. If you're not getting nocturnal erections, that's a bad sign, because you should be getting nocturnal erections, right? So if you wake up, you should be waking up with some firmness. But if you're not, you got to deal with your stress. Really what it comes down is to stress, oxygenation, acid formation, that whole thing that I've been harping on this entire stream. All right, now I think I've covered it all. So, by the way, if you want to book a call with me, you need extra help, you want to talk to me personally, maybe you want some coaching, something like that, you can book a call with me. For those of you on YouTube, there's a link in the description of this video that you can book a call with me. You get a full hour. We'll talk about all your issues. We go in depth specifically about your issues, talk about food choice, all of that, your lifestyle, where you know, things you can improve personally, actionable things that you can get into immediately. So we got a full hour to talk about that. And sometimes we even go over on the hour, right? But yeah, so you can, if you're interested in doing that, you're on YouTube, hit the link in the description of this video. For those of you on Instagram, you hit the link in my bio. In that link, you can even sign up and get a diet plan if that's you just want a diet plan drafted up for you. You can join my 12-week mentorship, and that has just tons of education. So my high raw vegan nutrition guide, my training plans, my mindset and self-development video series, my Tribe by Noir support group on Discord, and you get access to the Thursday night member-only live Q&As. I do group coaching calls every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, with the Tribe folks. Yeah, my fasting course is in there as well. And then last but not least, you can sign up for my free newsletter. So for streams like this, I sent out an email to everybody in the newsletter with the link to this live stream. So hit the link in the description or the link in my bio if you're on Instagram, if need be. If you haven't liked the video, if you haven't liked the stream, hit the like button, like the stream. And let me catch up with y'all in these comments here. Hold on. There's a lot of y'all too. Oh man, look at this. Hold on. Favorite male YouTube creator. That's big. I appreciate you. And thanks for tuning in. JT, you ever had any problems with performing on a fruit diet? No. You know what's interesting is this is probably like the most amount of fruit I've ever eaten in my life, and every aspect of my health has improved straight across the board. Even, matter of fact, depending on how long you've been following me, you can go back to my old content and you'll see the change in my face. I used to have a fat face. I'm a lot leaner now. You can see it in my face. I had a lot of health issues that I didn't even know I had. So it's just been a consistent improvement in my health over the years, especially now. It's ramped up big time. Is organic raw honey okay? Organic raw honey is great. People quibble with you about how vegan it is, but it is definitely medicinal, that's for sure. Honey or organic raw honey is antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. Tastes good. Got a really good nutritional profile. Less BO was a pleasant surprise. True. Let me tell you something. I haven't owned a stick of deodorant in years. It's phenomenal. I changed my drawers just because. You know? So yeah, it's phenomenal. This is a hygienic lifestyle, folks. It's hygienic. Sharon's Poetry Corner, my favorite my favorite channel. I appreciate that. That's big. I appreciate the love y'all send me in here. Yes. Hey, what causes PE? How do you fix premature ejaculation? Is that nervous system problem? Oh, that's probably gonna have to be a different thing. Because it could be a variety of different issues. You know what it could be from too? It could be excessive Kegeling. That's one thing. Where basically, like, if you're doing Kegeling exercises, stop. Because the excessive tightening of your pelvic floor can cause that issue. So I know that that's one thing. It could also be psychological. There's a lot of different things. So that, I mean, that could be like, and to be honest, I'm not as well versed in that issue as I am in the erectile dysfunction thing, because a lot of that is, it's very, I guess you could say psychosomatic or psychological. You're dropping jewels, brother. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. I've been using lots of watermelon during my detox this month with high raw plant-based diet as possible. There we go. How's it working out? Is pickled cucumber okay or too much sodium? Oh, if you decide that you're going to get the fermented vegetables, you're going to do that, make sure that you get it from the refrigerated aisle, not room temperature. The room temperature ones don't have the probiotics. How long do you stay in the cold plunge? I don't really particularly do cold plunges. It's never really been a thing I got into. Yeah, you don't really stay in it for long. I mean, I don't know. It could be anywhere from 15 seconds to, I don't know. It's not really supposed to be long, but I'm not too familiar with cold plunges to really give like a detailed answer about it. So that's something I'm gonna have to look further into. How many hours of walking daily do you recommend? I'm more so focused on the distance. So walking 3 to 5 miles generally is enough. One hour should be enough for the day. Generally speaking. I don't think you need to do multiple hours of walking on a daily basis. That might be a bit much. You can. It just depends. Is rebounding a great exercise? Actually, yeah, it is. Rebounding is actually really good for your lymphatic system. And it's low impact and it's fun. Yeah. I'm nominating you for a new large knife. That's the only knife I have here currently right now, so I'm doing my best. You saw me struggling to cut that watermelon? I was over here struggling. That knife is not particularly sharp. So I'm basically cutting this watermelon with a fairly dull knife, you know, so had to put an extra bit of elbow grease into it. I've been testing my watermelon and they break a lot when cutting them. I also use a paper towel to test the color and find more color than none. Should I worry about it being injected for color? No, I've never heard of injecting color into watermelon. God, man, now I gotta look that up. Is that even a thing? That sounds insane. That sounds nuts. I got 4 of them big bad boys. There we go. The seeded watermelon. All right, there you go. Nice and crunchy. Oh, not playing. Fred, you struggling with that watermelon. It was a struggle. Nicole, what's going on? Good to see you in here. I'm going way back up in the comments now, so I think I checked that. Ooh, how did I choose the watermelon? Good question. So basically, you can test a watermelon primarily by how it smells, how it sounds, and how it looks. So I look for this beautiful yellow golden spot on it, right? I look for that. And then I tap the watermelon. And when you tap it, it should sound like a kind of hollow on the inside, like a water jug kind of sound when you tap it. If you tap it and it sounds like dense, like it's like it feels really solid inside, and that's when it's like, it's not really that right. But if you tap it and it's kind of like bong bong, like it's kind of, it kind of has a little bit of a vibration into it when you tap it, and it feels almost like it's filled with water. Those are the signs. I typically judge a watermelon by that. And then sometimes if you smell the bottom of the watermelon, you can have like a slight sweet smell. I think that more so applies to things like cantaloupe or pineapple or something. With pineapple, I pick pineapple according to how yellow it is in that yellow spot, and then how it smells in the bottom. So if it smells sweet in the bottom, definitely it's ripe. It shouldn't smell too sweet, because that means it's too ripe. Right? So yeah. I think that's the next fruit I'm gonna prep on the stream is pineapple. Yeah, pineapple. The pineapple kick is about to start. All right, folks. Let me get home. What they saying on Instagram? What are folks saying on the gram? See a lot of folks joining here on the gram. Example of teas for bad stomach bacteria. Oh yeah. I just mentioned them. Yeah, the ginger turmeric tea. Oh, where did I mention the teas? Yeah, ginger turmeric tea, or ginger and turmeric tea. You can add a couple pinches of cayenne pepper to that also. Cinnamon tea, you can add a pinch of nutmeg to that one also. Oregano. What else? Those are my top ones. Oh, fennel tea. Fennel tea is another one. That's a banger. And I believe hibiscus tea. Yeah. How do you get rid of sugar cravings? Eat fruit. I know it sounds like an overly simple answer, but it's true. What did you say about gas and bloating? I'm vegan. I just attribute it to beans, legumes, and cruciferous vegetables. You can have the gas and the bloating as a result of low stomach acid. Also bad bacterial overgrowth in the upper gut. And a limited amount of good bacteria in your lower gut. All right. Well, I don't want to hold y'all too long. I said I was going to keep it short and concise. So let me catch up to a few more questions over here on the YouTube. Can grapefruit can neutralize blood pressure medication. But honestly, I would rather someone eat grapefruit than take blood pressure medication. I don't mix watermelon with other fruit. I eat it by itself. The amount of muscle you gain on a high raw diet is amazing. It happens so quickly. In addition, yeah, I'm telling you, stress management is the key to muscle growth. Quality over quantity. All right, y'all. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. But yeah, I'll leave y'all with this final word. Alkalize your body. Okay, water-rich foods. Eat your water. All right, folks, eat your water. And focus on recovery. If you need to book a call with me, you need help personally, you want coaching or a plan or something like that, hit the link in the description. For my folks tuning in on Instagram, hit the link in my bio. And I will see y'all next Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I do this every week, 8 p.m. Eastern. Talk to y'all. Have a good one.